It's almost like I'm starting to know what I'm doing here. Look, we're even not muted.
Yeah, I see that. And are we Instagram too?
We are Instagram Live, and everything is working. And I got it right for the first time in months. Of course, this is only like the third time I've done this in several months. But
yes,
it's
it's the third time.
Is it third?
Yeah.
When was our last Nerd World News show? Was it back in October or November?
I want to say October.
I feel like we had it like right around late October, November kind of thing.
I think we were done before that.
Okay.
I'm not 100% certain.
It's possible.
We could check StreamYard, considering
That's true. That's a thing.
that it'll tell us.
But not important.
Who's with us?
Who is with us? Who's saying hi right now? There's Elizabeth Rice, and the music is playing, and that's fine. That's actually intentional, so I'm glad that's working. Greetings, catching what I can while at lunch. Hello, Andy Senior. Good to see you guys.
Slash dinner slash.
It's all a matter of perspective, really, when it comes to
It's food time.
It's food time. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the music. I thought it was on, let me try this. Yeah, fade out. Okay, I had the fade out feature off, so I got to figure that out.
So,
that's all right. So we're not perfect show, but we're working on it. Jeffrey Knapp is on board. Peter is with us as well. It's good to see everybody. I hope you're having a great week so far. Well, I hope we had a good weekend. I mean, it's only Monday, so great week is not going to be a thing at the moment. But we can but hope. When you get out of work at 10:30, it's lunch. See, it really seriously, it's all about perspective. This is so weird. When we were just like doing news type stuff, sitting next to each other like this makes sense. But now I want to have like conversation with you, and I feel like you should be like across from me somehow, right? So it's like almost a talk show set level type stuff. I think we need to do.
Office isn't big enough for talk show.
The office is not You see, talk show sets are not as big as you'd think they are, really, when it comes down to it.
True, but it's still a little.
I know
it's kind of odd setup for.
It's a wish list type of a thing down the road. Maybe someday Tanya and I will have like a talk show set and multiple cameras. Who knows? We could get that fancy. Anything is feasible at this point. So we're working off of a list of topics that Andy's senior and junior came up with recently. Now, Andy, the Andys were suggesting that today we should probably talk about maybe Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which is basically the Goonies go into the Star Wars universe. However, this one has not seen that show yet, so we're really not going to be able to speak with any amount of balance to it yet. I have watched the show. I find it very entertaining. I hope you get a chance to watch the show at home someday. I'm going to have this one watch it when she has the opportunity. We need to catch up on Daredevil too. We're behind the episode now.
Well, yeah.
So and as we talked about, when Daredevil season 1 wraps up, we will be doing a quick discussion of that. So Elizabeth, I think you and I have talked about Skeleton Crew at this point, or at least maybe just in kind of passing.
Peter's been to Mark and Kelly. It's very small.
Yeah. See, that's a thing. You don't really see it. You don't get the perspective of it. Because of the way the camera angles are set up, right? But like the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon is not this massive set. So it was a suggestion list on a hard agenda. You know what? It was an excellent suggestion list, and a decent agenda. We'll probably be mixing and matching them because there's a lot of good suggestions on that list, and it gives us an idea of some things to look forward to. Because I think a lot of the things that the Andys did was make a plan to talk about something after it aired. Especially some of the big Marvel movies that are going to be coming out in the near future. Series 2 of Doctor Who with Ncuti Gatwa, like that sort of thing. This is on our list of things to talk about. Yes, it's coming up soon.
Yeah, and I saw that list yesterday afternoon about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I'm like, I'm like, yeah. So
Price is Right is also smaller than you think, though. I haven't been since they changed the studio. The studio is actually even smaller now, if I remember correctly. Cannot wait for Doctor Who. Neither can I. I am looking forward to that very much.
Yeah. So
love Skeleton Crew. Waiting for Andor season 2. Me too, Jeff. Absolutely. Andor season 2 is going to be very interesting. Andor season 1, I think, was some brilliant story writing. And there was a couple of story beats and a couple of speeches in Andor season 1 that were just chef's kiss.
I watched a little bit of it, but it just didn't go like that at the time to grab and yank me into.
You need to be yanked into things?
Sometimes.
Okay. Let me ask you a question real quick to circle back around to the studio tangent. If we were to set up like a proper, like, kind of talk show set, would you be behind the desk or me? Or do we need 2 desks?
I think we need 2 desks.
2 desks? That would be a very cluttered show. That's going to make it even harder to fit.
Or like, I don't know. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
If I broke down the D&D room up in the attic, I'm sure we could make a studio up there.
Well, we play D&D.
But then where we play D&D,
You're right.
we have to have our priorities, Tanya.
The priorities
are
D&D.
important.
Yes.
And you see, it really segues.
It
segues works. It works really well. I kind of went, oh my God, my hair is just a disaster.
Can I tell you?
I need a haircut badly.
This is
Keegan. Oh, Keegan's having a birthday. I can't bother her with a flip for a haircut right now. Go ahead.
This is day 5 of D&D stuff for me.
Is it really?
Day 5.
I'm slightly jealous, I must say.
Thursday,
Which
is not like
that's your
Dungeon,
Thursday game.
Thursday
But
game.
still,
It's not
it's a role
D&D.
play night.
It's a role play night.
Uh-huh.
Friday was here.
Uh-huh.
Saturday we were in Hilton with Mark's campaign.
Okay, you were, yeah.
Yep. And Sunday we were in Brockport with the 3-5 campaign, which we were going after the Hand of Vecna. And it's funny because we're going after the Eye of Vecna in Saturday night's campaign.
Well, then your Saturday crew can go up against our Sunday crew, and the Sunday crew kick your ass.
And then today we watched the movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Refreshed because we had to refresh our memories on the movie. So
well, you had to refresh your memory on the movie. I was right there.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen it since it came out in the theaters.
Same.
Uh-huh.
Same.
Elizabeth saw a puppy.
She saw a puppy. There's a puppy in
the house. Right back.
There it is. It was like Jaws breaching the water. Look, there she is. There she is. She look. It's hi, Auntie Elizabeth. I loves you. 2 desks and it's weekend update. That's Andy. You might be onto something there, or just on something. But I think that we'll set it up as SNL weekend update.
Maybe.
But that's more of a nerd world news kind of a thing, though.
Yeah. So when Dan and I were at TorahCon on Saturday,
how was that? Was that fun experience as always?
Yeah. I mean, we were set up in time at by 10 after 9. So we were able to walk over to the SAU and the shed building to actually see where their panel rooms and breakout rooms were and things like that. And then because they start panels at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Melissa, slurp on cue. She did. As soon as you see something, she's going for it. Right, Juno? Right, Juno? Right here? No, it's too high up. Yep. See, she's right below the camera level at the moment, and she's going to town on my hand. Yes. Hello, baby.
So, so they start panels at 9 o'clock in the morning. The vendor floor doesn't open until 10. Interesting difference for this year. The food trucks weren't in front of the field house. They were over in the quad in the global village type thing. So
was it harder or easier to get to them?
Well, you had to come out of the field house, go around the corner up to the student union, alumni union, and then down the way a little bit to get to the food court. And it was cold. And it was wind tunnel over there.
It's kind of early spring, so it's always going to be a little chilly there.
We're going to be talking about D&D, Sybil.
Yes. What are we talking about? We're talking about TorahCon at the moment, but eventually we're going to be talking about other things because that's what we do. We talk about other things. We talk about things, stuff and things.
So,
hi, Sybil. It's good to see you anyway.
So,
and to answer your question real quick, yes, Andy, we have seen the stand-up comic that does D&D material. Anyway, moving on.
So partway through the day, someone was talking about Nerd World Weekly. I can't remember who was saying that they were watching it. And they were saying, I go, people aren't watching it for you and me.
Yeah.
They're really not watching it for us.
I know.
They're watching it for
her.
Her.
They're watching to see the puppy.
So I'm like, that's what it is.
This is the weekly Juno sighting show.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
And so
that's all you ever need to know. Somewhere along the line tonight, you're going to see Juno a couple of times, and that'll make the ASPCA better. That'll make PETA happy.
So they're like, I go, yeah, people aren't watching for us. They're watching for the Juno sighting. They're like,
we could sit here just staring at each other playing poker with a tarot deck, and people would just be like, "Nope, where's the puppy?"
And they're like, Dan's like, "Can you get her to sit in a chair and you guys can do disembodied voices for her?" I go, "We tried.
We've done that, actually.
Yeah.
In the early days of Nerd World News, I was able to get her to sit in the chair when we went live. I had her sit there, and she actually hung in there for a couple of seconds before she was like, "Bag it, I'm out. Bag it, I'm out."
Yeah.
So.
Oh, thank you, Peter. He watches for our
thoughts and stuff. See, that's so nice.
There's one.
It's there's got to be somebody because I'm interesting, damn it. But there you have it. So what are we going to talk about? I mean, well, we did threaten that we're going to start the show talking about FC3. So that's a thing we usually do. So, I mean, do we have anything new from last week? Not really. I mean, we can remind people that we are going to be the 12th, 13th, and 14th of September. We are going to be at the same venue as always, the Total Sports Experience in Gates. We can talk about the fact that we are looking into better climate control systems and generators to help, we'll be ready for it. So the temperature will probably be more normal into the 60s instead of in the 80s and 90s. But if it does go into the 80s again, we'll be ready for it this time. And from what we're being told, there will be a corner where all of the climate control systems converge. And for any women on menopause, this is going to be the perfect place for you.
Or just people that get really, really hot.
Well, I think if we have people who get really, really warm and go into that corner, we're going to have a lot of ice cubes standing in the middle of the vendor floor. So, or snowing. Yes, thank you.
Oh,
but Elizabeth does say I watch for you guys and for the puppy. So that's I appreciate that, Elizabeth. That's very sweet of you.
So one of the ToraCon staff had come around, was checking in on everybody. They're like, how's it going? And we're like, good. They're like, oh yeah, it's a little chilly. And I'm like, and they're like, well, at least it's not snowing.
And on cue, right? Did it start snowing?
About an hour later, it started snowing.
I was out in Macedon Saturday afternoon, and we were just watching the flakes coming down, and they were big, like massive. It was a snow. It didn't accumulate because the ground was still warm.
Yeah,
it was too warm for it. But it was just like, Rochester area, of course.
Well, it's March.
Yeah, so, it's March.
Yeah, we know that the month of March sucks for weather.
I'm gonna need a haircut soon. That's going to be a thing. I'm going to be perseverating over this the entire show. I'm going to be No, you may not get the snippers. I'm going to look like freaking Telly Savalas when you're done with me.
No, those are clippers, not scissors.
Yeah, it's just going to be just as bad.
Oh, wow.
I know your aim. What?
What?
And it's not like I'm going to bring up Jeremy Renner anymore. I'm going to be in trouble.
We're not going there.
You'd like to, though. Anyway.
No.
Come here. Have a word with the dog. So, okay. So, 12, 13, 14 September, Total Sports Experience in Gates. We are going to have climate control. We have Guy Gilchrist, who we have talked about in the past already. We do have some other contracts that are out for consideration. We are hoping to hear about guest announcements soon. And as always, we cannot keep them secret. We're terrible at that sort of thing. So once we have those contracts signed and it is official, then we will share guest announcements with you. So asking us if we have any other further guest announcements is always pointless, because if we told you who's coming, that's it. That's everybody we know so far. We don't hold anything in reserve until contracts are signed.
We can't keep secrets.
We can't keep secrets. It's been a noted thing, terrible thing. I am the Tom Holland of the board. I am the Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo of the board. So that's something to be considerate of. One of these years, you guys will be considerate of that. Any more guest announcements? Have we mentioned them? No. Well, then there you have it. That's the long and the short of it.
I know. I got asked on Saturday.
I'm sure. Several times, most likely.
Yeah, they're like, when are we expecting it? I'm like, well, I've got a lot of emails out, so
I mean, it's a matter of
we know.
We're always working on it. That's the thing. We're always working on it. You guys don't understand that. It's weird. It's so funny. It's sad too at the same time. But anyway, and frustrating. But anyway, so we did talk about the D&D space upstairs in my attic, which has been getting some good use lately. We have our every other Friday game that Chrissy Harding is getting ready to wrap up. And then every other Sunday, opposite of that, my son has been DMing a small group, and he's really coming along. I tell you, he's got some skills as a DM. He's having fun putting stories together and stuff and making things happen. So that's been kind of fun. And I'm getting ready to uncork a brand new game world on an unsuspecting party of I can't say innocence, No, I know all of you. You're
No.
not. There's nobody innocent.
No, but can I tell you,
Yes.
the Friday night game, Chrissy starts drawing the map.
Oh, I know. As soon as she
Chrissy
starts talking,
We go through the first entrance because the outside of the outside picture looked a little different than what we were used to or whatever. So go into the little first hallway, all cobwebby, things like that. And like
Mhm.
none of us decided to take a torch to burn off the cobwebs. We would have seen the trap up there.
yeah.
So set up the trap, the ceiling starts to fall. We're like, well, then entrance number 2. And as soon as I said entrance number 2, I stopped and thought, I'm like, well, I wonder what this. Then
The way she started describing it, started all
all
of
of a sudden,
the veteran players at the
Like-
table. We all started staring at each other like, "Oh, we know what this is."
it's not good.
Oh, man. So,
Chrissy is sending us through Tomb of Horrors,
the classic
Yes,
classic death
but
trap.
in 5E version. So,
It's a Nerf death trap, but it's a death trap nonetheless.
yeah, but then all the players that haven't been in this dungeon are like, oh, good. It's going to be somewhat easier for us. And
No,
the veteran players are like, no.
no, my survival rate is 0% with this particular module. I've run through as a player twice. I've even run as a DM and still failed. So
I was going to say my survival rate is 75% in this dungeon.
yeah, well,
And I
it'll
run.
be
Now, and it's weird because I was talking to Sean on the way home, talking about Return to the Tomb of Horrors,
the sequel.
the sequel that
Mhm.
was a second edition module,
Uh-huh.
where you go to Acerex's demiplane, which
Mhm.
is a negative energy plane,
Which is all sorts of fun.
and it's horrible. And we were joking that there was this creature that was a disembodied head on a
On a steak.
no, it was on a plaque.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, well, I'm just going to get up and leave and whatever.
You know, I want you to understand that if somebody's watching and the audio went out just now, it looks like you're talking about something else entirely.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, Elizabeth, yes, D&D is something I think you absolutely would enjoy. I understand you do not have enough time for another hobby. However, I want you to understand that if you ever find yourself with a free time and just want to give it a shot just for an evening, you let me
September
know.
12th.
Well, not even just
Potentially.
September 12th, you can be part of a D&D one-shot at the convention if you want. But also, you have an invite. Come to the house. You come do it. You sit at her table, my table, whichever table. We'd love to have you. So that would be a thing.
But the thing's like, well, I'll just walk away. And Sean's like, you were just ahead on a plaque. No, I don't. I've got a body. He's like, no, you don't. And takes it and goes
Wing.
and flung it down the
Just draw you in.
the hallway. And he's like,
Oh, if we do the talk show thing, desk and chair, it doesn't matter. I mean, we can trade back and forth. You can have the desk one week. I can have the desk next week. So we can just kind of like, equal partners that way.
okay,
I'd love to see you behind a desk teach. That'd be hilarious. I think it'd be a good time.
I'll do that all day long.
Anyway, so what we are going to do right now, speaking of D&D, is we're going to, as the write up of the show said, we're going to talk about the 2023 movie Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Now,
choosing violence stuff.
obviously, this is a spoiler riddled conversation, but the movie's been out for almost 2 years now. So if you have not seen the movie, pause, or just click away and come back after you watched it. It's on Netflix. It's on Paramount Plus. It's on DVD. It's on Prime right now, Amazon Prime. And so it's really easy to find this particular movie. Now, right at the top, we're going to talk about this movie for a moment. And then, of course, spoilers. Right off the jump, I have a very positive experience with this movie. It is a very fun movie. People who think it's supposed to be the serious swords and sorcery fantasy do not understand the premise and the material. This is something you need to get. This is a Dungeons and Dragons movie. It is based on Dungeons and Dragons, which can be very serious, very dark, very edgy, depending on what college you go to, what night you're, and how much you're drinking at the time. However, that being said, most D&D parties start off looking like Excalibur and end up looking like I thought in your general direction, and we all know it. If you've played D&D in any way, shape, or form, you know that everything descends into madness in a proper D&D adventure. Okay? And so with that being said, this movie has some good action, some well-paced action. It has some great character development, has some backstory. And it's funny how everybody was the dead wife backstory. Mm-hmm. And so that features with one of our characters. Toodles Campers, MIB Life Calls. Go get him, Andy Sr. We'll talk to you soon. Elizabeth says, ooh, it's on Netflix. I do got to watch. I love Chris Pratt. It's not Chris Pratt. It's Chris Pine. Here, watch. Look, I even have that. There he is, right there in the middle.
Chris Pratt, Chris Pine. It's Chris.
Just, I can't remember their names. Can you call up a cast list real quick?
Michelle Rodriguez.
Okay. All right. So Justice who? That's on the far left is.
Hold on, I'm in trivia right now. Let me before.
She meant Pine. She's pining for Chris Pine. No, I knew that, but she got her Chris's wrong.
Let's see.
It's Justice Williams, I think.
It is Justice Smith.
Justice Smith, Michelle Rodriguez, Chris Pine, Renee Jean Page, and then who's the young lady who plays Dora?
Sophia Lillis.
Okay, and then
Hugh Grant.
With Hugh Grant.
And Chloe Coleman.
Right, and Chloe Coleman and Hugh Grant play basically the villains.
And Daisy Head is Sophina.
Oh, she's the Red Wizard of Fate. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you have, what's the basic premise? I saw a read real quick. A charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a lost relic, but things go dangerously awry when they run afoul of the wrong people. So Hugh Grant's our villain. He plays a con man who's part of their band who manages to double cross them and get them all screwed up at the beginning of the movie. And then Daisy Daisy Head. Where was I getting the Illis song from? I don't know. Anyway.
It's Sophia Lillis.
Sophia Lillis for Doric. I'll get my actresses joined up. And so Daisy is playing a Red Wizard of Fate, which for those of you who are not familiar with Forgotten Realms lore, the Red Wizards are your bad guys. They're far east on the continent. They are always like necromancers and illusions, and we're looking to basically be the evil bad guys. They embrace the role. They love being the evil bad guys. They're all about conquering the world. They're all about turning things dead as possible. So that is something that happens. So so you've got the factions, and it becomes this kind of thing where it's the adventure begins, the adventure goes awry, the party gets split up all over the place. Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez's characters are thrown in jail. They manage to escape and get out, and they're trying to figure out their way back into things to get everything back and put everything back together again, only to find that things have gotten monumentally worse while they were away and in prison. And then everything kind of descends from there. Now, there are critics out there. What? Car alarm?
Mm-hmm.
Is it either of ours? Lights flashing? Then we're not worried.
Nope.
That happens. I live in the city of Rochester.
But I was like, wait a second. Yeah.
Now, there are folks out there who are like, well, it should have been a more serious movie. You do not understand D&D if that is your comment. I'm just saying that right now.
And in regards to that, I have a piece of trivia. The directors opened up about Monty Python's influence on the film with Jonathan Goldstein explaining that while the creative team wanted to make a comedy, they didn't want to mock the source material.
Mm-hmm.
We never want to go too far where it becomes a spoof of fantasy films, but we also wanted to be able to pivot from something creepy and traditional fantasy to an absurd, almost Monty Python type sequence, the director said.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of comic hijinks. I think having watched a lot of movies over the years, I like the fact that it takes this. Here's the thing: you can take the source material seriously,
mm-hmm.
but still be funny at the same time. Like Princess Bride is very lighthearted, but it's a very serious death is around the corner type of an adventure all the time. But you don't you're able to laugh at the upbeats, and you're able to kind of, but you're still able to sink into the serious moments when they occur. The D&D movie is very similar to that. Honor Among Thieves. You can feel the seriousness when the tone changes, but then there are the comic gags, and you're able to laugh, and that balance exists in this movie.
And for any D&D players,
there's so many Easter eggs.
Well, that, and we're like, we've done that.
Yes.
Oh, we've done that too.
Or we've done similar. We've done stuff similar to that.
Or the fact of like,
or just as insane.
Yeah. Or like when Simon says something about this is what happens with wild magic, it can go awry. And I'm just like, I've played a wild mage, and I've encased my character in a shrubbery.
But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you also get the diehard D&D players who are the rules lawyers, and you get I remember when the movie first came out, and the movie, everybody's watching it for the first time, and you get these guys that are like, well, actually, that couldn't have happened because of this, this, and this. Shut the hell up. You've never heard of homebrew? Seriously?
Or the fact that Doric, as the owl bear, can't do A, B, and C, D,
F, and well, she shouldn't be able to shift into an owl bear. I don't care. It's homebrew now, right? So, and for those of you who are not familiar with the game, there are the rules in the book, and then there are the homebrew rules. So at our table, we choose to do this a little bit differently, this a little bit differently, and this a little bit differently because we don't agree with the book. And you're entitled to do that. In the very first edition of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons back in the 70s, in the DM's guide, the Dungeon Master's Guide, Gary Gygax himself, one of the creators of D&D, said, these are guidelines. The game is yours. Please feel free to edit and change it as you see fit, right? People do that. So when you get the rules lawyers going, I got actually the other day on one of the D&D forums, and I lit the guy up like a Christmas tree. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he actually apologized. I thought that was great. So, but you got to let your imagination go. You've got to let it wander. You've got to let it run. These are things that the game allows you to do. And that's why I've been playing it for nearly 40 years. There's always something new to do. There's always something different to try. There's a different character class, a different race, a different situation, a different way to look at it. I mean, right now, Tanya and I talked about it a little bit ago. We are both playing a module that we have played in the past. Does it mean we know what's going to happen? No. Different dice rolls, different characters, different outlooks. We may actually even be ready for something, and it goes sideways on us. Or
the fact that they're not necessarily, they're tweaking the module.
Chrissy may change something on the fly to kind of throw us off, which is perfectly fine. That's cool. And the movie kind of grasps that, hangs on to that, and allows you to go on this ride without being mired in the nuance of it. You don't get mired in. You get to enjoy the story for what it is. You have some more trivia?
No.
It sounded like you were about to go to a spot. You did the thing, but I'll take that back then. So, for those of you who have never played D&D and want to give it a shot, watch the movie. Seriously, this is a great introductory step to that. I would also recommend maybe now would be a good time to start watching some of the live plays that you can find on YouTube. Critical Role is obviously the granddaddy of them all and one of my favorites. There's Dimension 20. There's also Adventure Zone. There are so many different live plays out there right now, and they're all very, very good. Unbalanced Encounters, for instance, it's a very small one, but really well regarded. Some really good people creating on that one. So this, I think, is a great gateway drug to being a tabletop gamer.
Yes.
And you have now. Do you have another overall observation? That's it, folks. Thanks for joining us tonight.
When we were finished rewatching it, I'm just like, my thing was, I forgot how fun that was.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like,
you and I also have an ability, and I started interrupting, I'm going to let you have it in a moment. You and I are very good at checking our brain door and enjoying the movie for what it is.
Yes.
Even though we've been doing movie reviews for 8-9 years now, could you see a D&D on one of the gaming systems? Peter, can you rephrase that so I understand your question a little better?
Like one of the consoles or whatever. So, I mean...
like D&D on like an Xbox or a PlayStation, maybe. I don't know.
Which would they have? Oblivion, Skyrim, Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, Diablo.
Baldur's Gate 3
is
Baldur's Gate 3 is 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. So if you have not taken up Baldur's Gate 3, I would highly recommend it. Excellent game. Amazing game.
So if you're like a video, yes.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. The video games, yes. Baldur's Gate 3, there's been a whole bunch. I mean, Oblivion, Skyrim, Elder Scrolls.
Even like MMOs like World of Warcraft and Guild Wars, they aren't D&D system, but they have everything kind of comes from, Dungeons and Dragons is the granddaddy of just about everything that's happened in the past 50 years.
Fantasy
exactly
type thing.
Yeah. Baldur's Gate 3 is 5th edition D&D, which is the current edition right now. So if you want an accurate D&D experience in a video game, that is probably your best bet is Baldur's Gate 3. But there are so many different games and so many different systems too. There's so many different, fantasy role-playing systems, Daggerheart, Rifts, GURPS, the works. There's also sci-fi, there's Star Trek, Star Wars, there's Cyberpunk, there's Wasteworld, there's just even like Boot Hill. You can go back to the 70s and do an old Western RPG. So there's Battletech. There's just so many different game systems. And we're going to have a Nerd World Weekly where we just sit there and talk about tabletop games. And we'll probably have more than one because there's so many out there, and it's my jam, and I'm the executive producer of the show, and so that I'm going to.
And tabletop games, SimCon 46 at U of R was held yesterday.
How was that?
Was held over the weekend. It's very small. It was held in like the like ballroom of Douglas Commons, and I mean, our friends, Linkster Games, were there.
Nice, good to see those guys.
It's Getting Dicey. Were there.
And if It's Getting Dicey is there, then obviously
there was a Jedi there.
There was a Jedi there.
So I may have come out with about $150 worth of merchandise from It's Getting Dicey. So a new set of dice, 2 gaming boxes, like the rolling trays, and 2 of the neoprene inserts for it. One for me and one for Robin. I bought Robin an early birthday present.
That's right. I remember you saying that.
Then Randy came out with a box and a neoprene insert set with like a skeletal death thing on it. Says, "You can certainly try."
Outstanding.
The one I really wanted to buy says crying was a free action.
That's it. And I've said that.
It's crying
is a free action. Oh my God. I've done that.
I can never remember Cass's husband's name. Herman. He's like, I have them like double or tripled in my dice tray. And he goes, I just swapped them out because there's so many to pick from.
Cass sold me my 100th set of dice at FC3 last year.
I don't know what set of dice I just got from them this weekend, but
I'm on 115. Here's 114, and well, this is 102. This one right here, but this is 114 right here. 115's upstairs. It was a Christmas present from Melissa's, my 115th set.
Yeah, I've lost track. I
only know because I went through a whole inventory thing because I wanted to come up with my new everyday set. That's in my game bag that I take around with. So I was kind of sorting all of my different sets out and kind of bunching dice together and whatnot. And I just happened to start counting them up. I'm like, well, geez, how many freaking dice do I have at the moment? And I have a ton of loose dice that aren't parts of any particular sets.
Those go into the communal dice tin.
Yeah, I have a big bag that they all go into right now.
Well, for me, if it doesn't match any of my sets, they go into the communal dice bin. So half of my sets are in there. But no,
you and Robin are definitely the dice goblins of our clan.
And I mean, right now I have dice here.
Yes.
I have dice in Hilton at Mark's house.
Yes. You have some at Evan's house? Or did you carry?
No, I'm carrying 4 or 5 sets with me to Evan's, and then I don't even know how many I have in all those little drawers.
My goal is before I hang them up for the last time, I will have 200 sets of dice. That's my goal in the long run. So I'm going quality over quantity.
85 sets to go.
85 sets to go. These are going to be quality sets. These are going to be choices. I'm not just going to randomly pick up dice like these guys right here.
I actually have a couple sets upstairs in my
I want
room.
people to understand I'm lying through my teeth. I'm going to grab every set of dice that's in front of me. But anyway,
I'm like, I think last
I'm going
night
to be buried with dice. I just know that.
after we got home from Evans last night, we were getting ready for bed. I think I have 3 sets upstairs. One I got for my birthday,
Mhm.
one that Tyler bought on March 12th when he was doing, after his dentist appointment, we went to Millennium, but then lunch, he was buying mystery sets of dice.
Mhm.
So he didn't keep any of those dice. He gave 2 of the mini sets of the mystery bags.
Mhm.
Had him
Oh,
in.
Jason gave me 116 the other day. That's right. When he came over, he had those mystery bags
Oh,
that came out.
oh yeah, that was the
So I'm at
cool. That was
116
the
now.
cool set that I got. That my set was different than
Then
everybody
Yeah,
else's.
you had the
Everyone
fluid
had
cord.
had
The
like
liquid
the
cord,
traditional
yeah.
type sets, and I had like the dice were bigger and had the liquid cord.
I just want people to understand that we are actually still talking about the D&D movie, but we're on a side quest and a tangent, which happens in D&D games. So it's topical. Going off and talking about other things happens.
Because the dice are our treasures.
The dice are our treasures.
It is.
I am a dragon. I'm a dragon, and I hoard dice.
I do.
If you have not seen the movie,
the chunky dragon.
The Chunky Dragon, we won't see any more about that because we want you to be entertained by the Chunky Dragon, right? But this is a great gateway drug. Watch the movie. Netflix, Amazon. We watched it on Paramount Plus this evening.
Prime.
It's on DVD even. These are things you can find. And if you want to watch it with me or Tanya or us, please, we'll watch it again. It's a fun movie. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving this movie or just shy of a 9, like 8 and 9 tenths.
I was thinking around a 9.
Yeah, it's not a perfect movie. There are subtle things that are like, oh, that could have been done a little bit better. But there's such a reverence for the source material, a reverence for all of the gaming groups that have come and gone over the nearly, what is 50 years? It's been 50 years of D&D at this point. So of the 50 years of Dungeons and Dragons since it first came out, probably there are millions of gaming groups that have risen and fallen and risen again, or recombined in other groups. And I remember I learned in college. So the fall of 1988 is when I started playing my first serious campaign with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which will be renamed First Edition eventually. And my college guys, Paul, Jeff, Kirk, Mike, Scott, and learning the game with them and taking on being parts of other groups with, John and Todd and the gang at the commuter council at Fisher, and then moving on to Brockport and not knowing anybody at Brockport, but meeting theater kids that play D&D. And I'm like, okay, here's my tribe here. And then when I got out into the world and meeting other friends, I met you and Randy through D&D, through Deanna.
Yep.
So it evolves. The game evolves. The movie is reverent to how that feels. Mm-hmm. And you will find yourself in situations, if you're a player in any way, shape, or form, you'll look at the movie and you'll be like, I have not been in that exact situation, but it feels like this moment here, or this moment over here, or when we tried to do this, and this in a module. It gives you that callback. It gives you nostalgia. It gives you fresh perspective on a lot of fun, on a fun game. It is worth the effort to watch Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, even though it's been out for 2 years already. So,
and I'm like, these ones are, I say this one is definitely better than the previous Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Yeah, that was just
they're cheesy.
It was terrible.
And
Turn of the Century ones?
Monsters.
Yeah.
So
the turn of the Century Dungeons and Dragons movie that had one of the Wayans brothers in it. It was so on the
but they were like, it was painful.
It was made in a time that those types of movies were not taken seriously. Mm-hmm. They were thrown out there to appease a niche. They knew they weren't going to be broadly advertised. They knew they weren't going to be broadly popular. They were done tongue in cheek on purpose. Whereas this movie it takes its comedy seriously. Mm-hmm. Right? It takes its lightheartedness seriously. It's building. It makes it. It happens. It all fits together in a stream. So this I'm considering the first genuine D&D movie. Everything else before that was just throwing away.
Okay. It says
what?
It was released March 31st, 2023.
So we're almost on the second anniversary of it. Just in a couple weeks.
The budget was an estimated $150 million.
And it shows. The special effects are really good.
the gross for US and Canada was 93,549,000.
Okay.
So it didn't make
But
its
that's domestic.
That's domestic.
Yeah.
Worldwide was 205 million.
So it came in well. It was not a bomb. I think what happened is right when the D&D movie was about to be released, Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast is the current publisher of D&D, they got into, they shot themselves in the foot, if I may say it that way. They shot themselves in the foot through licensing and third-party licensing and things like that. They made it very clear that they were going full corporate and they were going to shaft everybody that was third-party contributors. And the outcry from the community was very palpable. And I'm thinking to myself, if Hasbro had kept its mouth shut from the beginning, and Wizards, it kept in stride with that and didn't create the kerfuffle that they did, the movie would have done a lot better. I think a lot of folks kind of avoided it because it was a boycott vote, essentially. A lot of people were like, well, I'm not going to go see the movie because Hasbro sucks. And, let's be honest, Hasbro sucks. I will say that in public. And Wizards of the Coast is not getting any more of my money anymore. The only reason I have a copy of the Player's Handbook of the new revised 5th edition rules is because somebody basically gave it to me, almost for like half off. I think, because of.
And in addition to that, you're talking about Hasbro. The film was a box office disappointment, largely due to being released 1 week after John Wick Chapter 4.
Oh, wow.
And 1 week before the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Tough placement.
Yes.
Tough placement.
And that's where we find that where some movies not necessarily fail, but they stumble, is because of when they are released.
People are not thinking their way through this one and planning it correctly.
And this was filmed from April of 2019 to August of 2019. So it was a very short time for filming to be released in November of 2019. But then it got pushed back because of Mission Impossible, then pushed back. And then COVID hit. So
when you put all the factors together, that movie probably could have done a lot better
if it was given
some proper thought.
Because it was
a good movie.
And this is the 4th Dungeons and Dragons film, and it's a reboot.
Yeah. Well, the first 3 sucked. We're not going to talk about them.
Yeah. But you'll have to definitely watch
Let's put this in perspective.
The graveyard scenes.
Yes. Oh yeah, the graveyard scenes are the best. But let's put this in perspective. When the very first Dungeons and Dragons movie came out, like almost 25 years ago, I think it was even more than that. I think it was in the late 90s. Anyway, right from the very first scene, I knew that the movie was going to suck. Because I'm sitting there in the movie theater with my gang and we're watching it. And somebody started outright just naming magic items as if they were being pulled right out of the DM's guide and making an over... They were doing a soap opera star kind of acting. The 1970s soap opera star acting in subtle CW channel moments. But that's another story entirely. I might talk about that movie more at length down the road, and this ain't going to be that day. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, highly recommended. I'll round it up to the 9 out of 10. Definitely worth watching. I've seen it 3 or 4 times at this point. I know you've watched it 3 or 4 times as well.
And Wizards of the Coast actually made stat blocks for the main characters showing their abilities and attributes.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
I love that. Tom Baker was in the first one, I believe. Yes, Peter, I think you are correct. He had a bit part in the first one. I'm fairly certain I remember that being a thing. So I think that's all we've got tonight. 44 minutes? That's not bad. That's an old school podcast for us.
And for Elizabeth, Chris Pine agreed to appear because of the role of Edgen is very atypical for a fantasy film leading man. And because he sat on his nephew playing D&D campaign and saw how much him and his friends were having.
Yep. Yeah. He got sold on that one. Definitely a thing.
Didn't they actually all start playing D&D?
Yes.
For this movie?
A lot of them did. A lot of them were playing one-shots and whatnot, just to kind of get the vibe of what it was like. I would love to have been a fly on the wall watching Hugh Grant play D&D.
Oh, right.
He's such a stick in the mud sometimes.
Did you imagine, like, so prim and proper English, and then he's like, bollocks or bugger.
But here's the thing. Hugh Grant said one of my favorite movie lines of all time. In 4 Weddings and a Funeral, he'd gotten caught and not so much his character got caught not so much in a lie, but just in a really awkward situation. And he kind of looks, goes, fuck a doodle do. And I use that in life all the time now because of that song. So I got that line from Hugh Grant. It was just a great line. And it was it's well said.
I haven't seen the Into the Woods movie. I see that.
I did. But here's the thing. Into the Woods is a strange.
It's creepy.
Well, in the proper stage musical, the first half of the musical is this wonderful fairy tale. And the second half goes off the goddamn rails. We're gonna do a Nerd World Weekly where we'll talk about Into the Woods sometime.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
There's some fun moments. There's some great acting in the movie version of it. Some great stars involved in it. But the show itself, in my opinion, is what the hell just happened? Basically right after intermission. So I think that's good. In the very near future, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. We've been given kind of a cool agenda list by some of our staffers and friends who help us out. So we're appreciative of that. Gives us some things to look forward to working on. Elizabeth, it's fine. Yeah, I'm with you, Elizabeth. Right there. I think that sentiment is best. So kids, don't play with matches. And we hope that you have nothing but the best of days. You have a great, how are you doing? I hope you have a great week.
A safe week.
Have a safe week. And we'll talk to you again
next week.
Take care, kids. Roll for initiative, bitches!